Okay, well, I am going to go ahead and get started because this was something that is supposed to be like a lunch and learn. So it's going to be pretty rapid fire. And then at the end, for those folks that are wanting to learn how to work with us further after the lunch and learn, then we'll have a little bit of an offer there at the end for anyone who's interested in solving what these CEOs are looking to solve. Based upon our research, we found out that there was three sales productivity mistakes that CEOs are really worried about, and they have every right to be worried about it because the current systems that exist for hiring, onboarding, and just continually trying to help employees adjust to work from home, work from anywhere, basically all our post-COVID chaos has really kind of layered on an extra layer of stress. So things that maybe wouldn't have caused as much stress or burnout in the past are really becoming overwhelmingly apparent. And what that does, it affects our overall focus, engagement, and overall health and well-being. So I'm very happy to be joining you here today. I'm Evan Sanchez. I'm the CEO of Springboard Your Consulting, as well as Springboard Your Biz. I am an Amazon best-selling author. Cracking the Rich Code was one that I did with Jim Britt, and that was endorsed by Tony Robbins and also co-authored with Kevin Harrington. Sell Like a Champ has been nominated as a bestseller via the C-Suite Network, and we've been endorsed by Steve Siebold as well as Jeffrey Hazlett with that book. So we've got a lot of good knowledge, and I've got great teammates, and we've got great insights when it comes to overall implementation. The problem that most of these CEOs are worried about is an implementation and adoption program problem, because those two things, when you pay a lot of money and you put something in place, those things not getting adopted or implemented properly are what is going to sabotage the high performance teams. And we specialize in how to not only measure the results, but also get the results. So I love it when we're talking to a business owner or a CEO and they say, okay, well, Evan, what about the ROI? What about the results are we going to get? What results are we going to get from this training or coaching or anything? And so we talk about the results and we talk about, well, what are the business results that you're looking for? Typically, there's something like improved sales, right? Improved average sales deal size, or decreased time to complete things, reduce waste, increase throughput. Those are all business results that people like to track the KPIs for. Then you have other things that are a little bit less tangible, things like enhanced teamwork, enhanced communication, essentially less chaos, arguing, and problems is what they're looking for. And again, that affects the overall engagement of the overall employees. So when somebody's looking to hire on a new employee or a new team, they think about the impacts on the culture. And they think, okay, well, we need training. That's the easy button. The first thing they think about is training. So, hey, let's go out and let's look for quality training. Well, this is when we get contacted a lot of times because people are looking for some type of coaching, whether that be sales, marketing, sales enablement, operational excellence, or even brand strategy. And they ask us about our coaching and our teaching skills. And we do our best to show them, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, there are different avenues out there. Some of those avenues for training and coaching are 10s. Some of them are 5s. Some of them are 2s. So you really have to make sure that you're getting the best quality training that you can when you're thinking about how to onboard or get something implemented. So let's say we do a really, really good job and we're a 10 on the quality of our coaching and training skills. Well, if I take a 10 and I multiply the adoption capability of the organization by 0, 10 times 0 is 0 results. So literally, we can deliver the best training and the best coaching possible, but if they don't have the right environment and they're not able to adopt the skills, knowledge, and experience that we're passing on to them, the result's going to be 0. So here I have to turn this back over to the business owner or the decision maker and say, well, tell me a little bit about your culture and the leadership. Do y'all focus on a growth mindset? What studies have shown is that a growth mindset is actually going to let somebody open up to something new. Whereas if they're in a fixed mindset, they're probably going to attend the training and they're not going to change anything moving forward because they already believe that they've done everything they can do. The next piece of adoption that's key is looking at your overall performance system. And does that performance system give people feedback as well as clear direction on how to improve their feedback, as well as maybe a learning path or an individual development plan that's tailored to that person's role or position that will also help them succeed? What does coaching and mentoring look like now? Do they have internal coaches? Do they use external coaches? How do they do feedback? That's another big element that needs to be part of any adoption or implementation plan, because when I teach somebody something new, the first time they try to do it, they're probably going to do it wrong. And then they're not going to like it because they did it wrong, and they're going to have to learn through a few things. And then not only that, once they get it, they're still not fully competent. So I have to practice something to get better and better and better over time. And that little piece right there, without expert guidance, mentoring, and coaching, keeps adoption and implementation from happening. It may not take it away entirely, but it will significantly slow it down, which means it significantly slows down the ROI. Next thing is you got business processes and triggers. These are things that we look at in order to reduce the amount of chaos. And then we also have to measure the results in leading indicators or short-term successes so we can show how those add up to get the results that ultimately every CEO, every decision maker is looking for. So again, if we deliver a 10 on our training and you're looking for business results, I need a 10 on the adoption environment or the implementation environment for us to get 100% of those results. So this is why these are the top 3 productivity killers for these CEOs and decision makers. So they're thinking, hey, I need to get this business growing. Here's my go-to-market concerns. Well, the number 1 that came out of the poll was that planned hiring will be insufficient to adequately cover open territories. The reason for this is exactly what I was saying. I can train somebody, I can get them on board, but then when they go into the new territory, they aren't going to be able to sufficiently capture new business fast enough for us to get a return on that cost of sale. Now, that problem can be solved by finding and hiring only sales champs. We call A players sales champs at Springboard. My book, Sell Like a Champ, it outlines what a sales champ is, what a contender is, and what a sales chump is. And what we found is that sales champs, they produce 5 times more than a contender, and they do it with less stress. And sales champs produce 10 times more than a sales chump. So if you're worried as a CEO about your hiring plans not covering, not being able to produce, you have to be sure that you're hiring A players and sales champs. And as of today, most of the hiring tools that are out there are based upon assumptions of capabilities, and those assumptions are wrong. And I see it all the time because I'll take an assumption and I'll say, give me your top 3 performers, and we'll profile them and we'll see how they match up. And they don't. Every single time there are areas that are missing. So the number 1 piece is you got to hire sales champs. What we're really talking about is optimizing people's growth mindset, right? Because we want to be sure that we're hiring people who have a growth mindset. We want to be sure that we're recruiting those people, we're onboarding them, and we're also finding ways to reduce stress in the environment so that they can perform at their highest level. Number 2, onboarding is insufficient to rapidly ramp new hires to productivity. Well, focusing on hiring and developing A players is going to help a lot. It's going to help the company actually put in technology to automate these things, because people who are growth mindset or A players, they're going to be a lot more open to learning these new technologies and learning how to work with new teammates. So when we look at putting together an onboarding program, the goal is to build confidence for the new product and service and present value. The goal is not to learn everything about the company, the whole history of the company, and then be babysat by a high performer. Because if the current program that you have now is really only putting people in, learn about the company, and then go right around with your A players, not only are you keeping the current person being onboarded from being their best at what they do, but you're also now hamstringing those to your best performers. So that will also slow down the overall productivity. And number 3, identifying sources of employee burnout is necessary for sustained growth. So like I said in the beginning, if you're looking at business processes and triggers, if you're feeling a lot of frustration in your environment, those are the first places you need to look. There's something wrong with the strategy. There's something wrong with the processes that are causing confusion. So burnout can be a part of this organizational strategy and process frustration, or it could be individually manifested from one's own mindset, similar to, indecision, inaction, fight, flight, freeze, or, having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes. You're really not going to go anywhere, but you're going to cause a lot of friction. So not only is it an organizational challenge that you have to deal with, but it's also an individual challenge. So I'm going to show you the solutions for a lot of these issues now. So the solution is that you have to have a qualitative and a quantitative measurement of performance. So currently, most of the assessment tools that are out there to help identify A players or the best person for the job, they are only looking at behavioral things. So behaviors are things that I can see or hear. So we put those above the line. So things like disc profiles, predictive index, those types of tools, those are all above the line behaviors or above the water. There's something we can see. What we really need to identify is the things that we can't see. And by utilizing some of the new tools in neuroscience, we're able to identify what are the driving beliefs, right, that this person has that either allows them to have more of a growth mindset or more of a fixed mindset. So what we've found is that if we're hiring to a growth mindset, we can reverse the negative impact of a new hire. So they're not draining, they're not bringing bad energy, and they're also not bringing that fixed mindset of, well, I already know this, I don't need to be taught again. There's also utilizing this assessment where we can actually find an adapting mindset. So somebody that's kind of in the middle or status quo, this is also going to cause a lack of growth. So what we're looking for in this hiring process is folks with that growth mindset so that they can add to our culture so that we can increase performance and engagement and reduce turnover and lead that to higher growth. So you'll see there at the bottom, this is a study that was done by the NeuroPerformance or Neuro Leadership Group. And what they found was that workplace satisfaction and productivity tied to the actual mindset. So you can see there's a lot of value in bringing anyone from a low, high to top 5, top 10% mindset. When you bring somebody else that's in that same mindset, there's a higher level of energy and engagement that goes already. So it's kind of like adding fertilizer to your garden, right? You've got this great team, you got this great culture. You want to be sure you don't bring any weeds into it. You don't want to be bringing in any flowers that don't belong, because it's not going to give you that growth that you're looking for. So it's only through these assessments that we can help you identify who those A players are from the very get-go. So we do this by identifying, the top 3 performers in any position, and then we have them do the assessment. We bring all those assessments together, we aggregate it, we talk to the managers, we figure out what their competencies are, and this is where we determine whether or not they have the right competencies and attributes based upon the data that we gathered from the mindset, the neuroscience mindset tests in our tools. So it's at this point that we're able to build that map of what a high performer actually looks like. So it's not really hard either. People think this has got to be tough, but it's not. We can hire with deep talent intelligence and find the best candidate and engage with them in literally a matter of days. So when we get an assessment back, we can see, okay, well, we built this top performer. This is what the mindset looks like. And then as people come in and apply for the position, they take assessments. And you can see right away from the way this is set up, anything in the blue, these are success drivers. These are indicators of a growth mindset. And anything in the red are indicators of more of a fixed mindset. So very quickly, I can look at these top 3 applicants and go, aha, there's the one that is the closest match. Now, I'll tell you, I'm just doing this for demonstrative purposes, but we get quantitative measurements on the back, and we also get degrees of difference of each of the success or fixed mindset drivers so that we can show exactly where any of the deficiencies are and actually give that a quantitative number. So how's this been used in the past? Well, here's an example of how we were able to identify top performers and accurately predict the success of new sales candidates. And by doing this, we were actually able to hire people who ended up becoming 300% of the overall goal. So, the folks that matched the top performer template, they all performed. The ones who didn't match the top performer template, you'll see the 3 there. One was under target the target was 345,000. One was under at 320 and the other 2 resigned. So again, those are very costly, and those are true concerns that CEOs should have if they're not using this type of neuroscience-based tool to help on the hiring side. So here's problem number 2. They're worried about onboarding insufficiencies. And the reason that they're worried about onboarding insufficiencies is that they haven't integrated the learning and the performance model. So training and performance must go hand in hand now. We're actually in a place where we have so much technology and there's so many distractions that we can't have these 2 things siloed anymore. Research has shown that if you're bringing together the effective integration of learning and development with a performance management system, you're going to be 3 times more likely to report good employee results. You're going to be 55 times, more likely to report a strong overall talent management success, and 100 times more likely to report those business results. So again, this is a key piece. They need to go hand in hand where we have a good performance management system, and then we're giving folks feedback and coaching and one-on-one performance discussions that are actually helping them to improve their overall performance. Again, showing that we care, modeling high performance, and building that culture within that growth mindset. This is an example of how complicated it can look. The talent development problem is that you have talent management that deals with things like compensation, acquisition, employee selection, onboarding, workforce, performance management. And then you've got other organizational development initiatives going on around culture, change management, team effectiveness, employee engagement, sales. It just gets to be a lot. And essentially, you've got all these different multiple technology stacks that are all working together that are causing more and more frustration. Because again, like I said, when we have a process that is frustrating us, that's where that lack of engagement and frustration comes from. And, we've done a lot of work with using Teams, and Teams has really been helping people to communicate. Others, you might use Slack or something to that effect, but it's group messaging boards. And what we've found is that LMS 365 has an app inside of Teams that allows us to build in a learning management system for our clients that integrates with Teams. So there's no longer jumping around from your human resources information center or, another outside training program or LinkedIn learning or what have you. We can actually build the entire course in content management so that these things are automated, right? Somebody gets hired, they get put in. I don't have to rely on the sales managers to keep up with the training schedules and who's done what and who hasn't done it. That's exactly the stuff that these CEOs are worried about because it bogs down the organization. However, what we've found is not only can we put the LMS 365 application in there along with Microsoft Office tools that are part of the onboarding and training programs, but when we integrate that with Teams, we can also provide anytime access to our Springboard Neuro Performance coaching tools. That being, hey, we're not just going to let you go. We help you hire and we show you where the deficiencies are so we can build in training programs that fit right into the normal work environment. And then our coaches can join in and provide that extra coaching. Again, that was another key to overall adoption. So back to the neuroscience tools that most people don't know a lot about. This is really going to address the third issue. So when we're talking about understanding what new tools are out there and how we can predict performance, we need to see how somebody's performance thinking is helping them and how it's hurting them. And what we don't know is we don't know the beliefs that have been created by their life events. We don't know what the thinking is built on their beliefs. And we don't know what that thinking is impacting, whether it's their life, their work, their health, and relationships. We don't know their priorities and the competencies that they're trying to work on. And we can only see the performance, the health, the value that others are and the consequences that are happening based upon their priorities. Well, now that we have an actual neuroscience-based assessment, we can see exactly those beliefs that are driving high performance and those beliefs that are getting in the way or causing stress. So again, it's that whole burnout piece, right? How do we deal with the fact that, living in the post-COVID world means that we now have to identify sources of employee burnout in order to sustain growth because everyone is operating under a new level of stress, whether that be from people who may have gotten sick or passed away, or maybe you have long COVID, or maybe the office situation still hasn't stabilized as far as is it going to be work from home, work from anywhere, in the office? There's lots of things that, again, that are impacting the overall global wars that are going on. These are all layers of stress that did not exist in 2019. So it's very important that you find a way to identify people who might be on the edge of burning out. And these people are hard to spot, but they're not hard to spot when we use the neuroscience-based tools. So when we use the PX12, which is something that's going to measure the performance thinking drivers, we call these success drivers. The things that drive success are the self-motivators. They're things like ambition, confidence, relational skills, interpersonal skills, and systematic thinking. Then there's fear and stress motivators, which are basically like, the barrier thinking or the fixed mindset pieces. And these are high needs of reassurance. They're very controlling, skeptical. They have high levels of self-defeat or negative self-talk. They're self-conscious. And what this does, if they have a higher number of these going on, they can actually cause higher levels of anxiety. The drive scale is also something that we look at in these measures. We look at the speed of thought. And for some people who have higher levels of speed of thought, they also have higher levels of anxiety. A lot of times in the coaching with these folks, it's getting them to realize that they've got to find other ways to either practice patience or get other people on the same page as them versus wondering why other people aren't on the same page. They just have a very high thinking speed. And some jobs, you need a high thinking speed, like think of a pilot. and other jobs you don't need as high of a thinking speed. Think of, somebody like a front desk worker or a baggage handler or something like that. So it depends on the job. We can look at these scientific metrics and link them to the bottom line results you're trying to drive by looking at those 10 performance thinking drivers, understanding where they're at, and then understanding how to utilize the coaching to reduce the anxiety and improve performance. The cool thing about the neuroperformance coaching and the way that it's set up, it's not behavioral based. This is about mindset shifts. Mindset shifts can be, done in a matter of 6 weeks. Let's say you had all of the stress drivers high. We could lead you through a 6-week program, and the average improvement in performance thinking and lowering of stress is 33%. So when you think about coaching in the past, you may have done coaching, it's been a 3-month, a 6-month, or a year. When we find performance thinking mind shifts, these are things that can be done in just 6 to 8 weeks. So it can be very, very powerful, and it can actually be part of the onboarding program itself. Because sometimes if you can't find an A player, maybe you hire a B player, but we know exactly what barrier thinking they have. We're able to address that thinking with the mindset shifts and get them up to speed better, faster, and cheaper within that onboarding program. So at the end of the day, our sales culture engineering programs really do cover the worries of the CEOs. We profile A players so that we can build that template so that we can hire more A players. Then we look at the rest of the company or the rest of the team and we say, okay, who are the folks that we can develop a growth mindset for, and how can we assist them in this process by combining the performance management system along with the learning management system and really helping with that adoption and implementation piece that's missing in order to drive the results that they're looking for. So, the value that we're bringing is proven neuroscientific tools that equip the business to map root source thinking for every job in the entire company, not just sales. It can also reduce turnover and increase engagement, improves hiring and developing to that accurate benchmark. So it's no more guessing, no more competency guessing, no more if ands or just trying to think about it. We can actually identify the exact competencies. And then results are also measurable, right? So this is a quantifiable tool that we can actually measure prior and post so that we can see the ROI that's being driven. So, you as a business owner or a decision maker within your company, you really do have to ask yourself, what's this worth? Well, if you start asking yourself, what's the cost of a bad hire? How has turnover hurt you? What's the cost of insufficient onboarding? The cost of unused documentations, SOPs. People put a lot of work into these business processes, and then they don't get used or they don't get taught. That's what the CEOs are worried about. But if you're working with us and you're seeing this presentation today, you have a good idea that we're here and there's no need to worry. So if you are interested, this is the part at the end where I told you I would give you an option to work with us. I appreciate you being here today. You're all going to get a copy of Cracking the Rich Code, and there's 19 other authors in there that are going to have great insights for you. If you're interested in overcoming these challenges, and we can look at who you have as top performers, right? If sometimes we work with people and they go, oh, well, we don't really have any top performers. We think we do, but we don't. We've got some top performer templates that we have. It's a database that's been built over 25 years. So we can either start with your top 3 performers and build a template and start that way, or we could identify high performers who may be burning out, right? Like if you have a concern, we can have them take that assessment and we can show you whether or not their anxiety levels are high and whether or not there's something that we can do. So if you're interested in working with us, the next step would be to contact us, let us know who you have, and we'll be happy to send them the assessment. Let's see, I got a couple of questions here. So if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and bring yourself off of mute. Erica, I see you are there. You can go ahead and bring your question. I'm happy to take those now.
Now, for people who are just starting out and maybe they're doing founder selling and their best performer is going to be them. They're either
Yes.
building a team, they're about to build a team, they've got a couple people that they're thinking about promoting. Could we do a top performer template based on them to clone them?
Yeah, you definitely start with what you have. And here's the other thing that I would say is I've got CEO templates. So founders, guess what? You're CEOs and you're also the salesperson. So what I would do is I would give you a few different templates to look at, and then we would compare, right? What we have in our database as far as top 10% performers. I can put your profile up against the CEO. I can put your profile up against the sales side. Either one of those are going to be fairly similar, because what we're looking for is we're looking for the things that are the barriers that are getting in the way. Where is the potential stress coming from? And the reason that's important is because this is a performance-based position. And when we go into a performance state of mind, there usually is a fair amount of stress. But again, there's good stress, which is eustress, and then there's bad stress, which is distress. So just getting that first assessment done, maybe comparing it against our CEOs and our salespeople would be the best way for us to show any gaps or any potential ways that we could improve not only the performance thinking, but also managing the stress. Great question. Any others? Okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much for attending our Lunch and Learn today. I hope you found it valuable. And if there's anything we can do to help you moving forward in the future, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be doing these on a monthly basis coming up each month. We'll be having one each month through the rest of 2023. So I look forward to seeing you some more. Thank you so much and have a great day.
This was wonderful, very insightful. I'm just very impressed with what you presented, and I'm thinking for myself, sign me up. But
All
another
right.
time, and Evan, I'm even thinking about who do I know that I can forward this video to and make an introduction on your behalf. My situation is not appropriate right now, but we all know someone who might find your ideas and your concepts appropriate for some stagnant and stale SOPs and within their own organizations. And I have one company in mind that I was interim DM CMO for about 3 years there. And, I don't know. So all that to say, is this webinar going to be available for me to forward privately or forward on my LinkedIn profile?
Yes, we can make that available to you. And what we'll probably do is break it out into some smaller pieces and use it that way. But we do plan on housing these on the website. So it seemed like you did a shout out to Erica. Do you know Erica? You got her contact information. I know we've got yours because you registered. But
Yes.
when we send you that information, we can also talk to you about how we might be able to work together. We appreciate any referrals, obviously. That's kind of the way the world works these days. It's really tough getting things sold on LinkedIn. It's more about building the one-on-one relationships and then finding out ways that we can help each other. And we are open to that because we are looking to grow. There's so many needs, right? There's so many people out there that are stressed out and burnt out and antiquated systems of getting people onboarded. We really feel like, this is a good mission for us to help people come out of the COVID-19, rust that everybody still has.
Yeah, and Paula, if it will work with you, your venture partner, in the marketing and graphics and design, because I know you're thinking about her scaling to a certain extent. It's certainly available, not just to enterprise, not just to medium size. It's definitely available, you know, that more inception and survival before growth level. It's actually the best.
Okay. All right. Great. Good. Good to know.
Awesome.
Paula, thank you so
Okay.
much. It was great meeting you today.
Likewise, Evan. Thank you. This was really
right.
fabulous. Excellent job. And thank you,
Thank you.
Erica. Lovely
Thanks,
to see
Paula.
you all.